Brad Chandler Coaching presents the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat Podcast. Stop working for someone else and get the support you need to make it as an investor. Having been part of over 2,000 deals, Brad Chandler will train you to buy and sell houses without making expensive mistakes. Learn about the good, the bad, and the ugly of investing from experience earned in the trenches as Brad coaches real investors how to find real success.
Welcome, everyone, to the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat Podcast. Excited to have a guest today by the name of Mel Silicki. How are you, Mel?
I'm good, Brad. How are you?
Awesome. So tell us and the viewers and the listeners, just a 30-second version of kind of your background and how you got where you are and what you're doing.
Sure. I'm in the DC area market. I've been doing real estate for a little over 20 years, construction a little over 15 years. Started out in mortgages and then moved over to construction and sales. Main focus is in Montgomery County, DC area. I did a lot of infill building teardowns. I worked with a number of builders in the area, finding properties for them and then just helping them sell it. And then went on my own and started doing my own projects and stuff too. Then kind of the crash came 2008 range. Luckily was only held with one property at that time. And then it just became kind of a struggle at that point for the next few years, kind of recouping. So I joined up with had a number of friends in custom home building area. I ended up joining up and teaming up with another builder and helping them build out their renovation side. They mainly do new homes, but they were getting a lot of requests for renovations. So that's where I am today. So we built that from a couple $1 million up to about a $10 million yearly business. But overall, I'm still kind of an employee for them. So I'd like to kind of go back on my own and looking at trying to more into wholesaling and then doing some additional flips.
Okay, awesome. So tell me, one of your goals is to do more wholesaling, selling some flips. Tell me, what are your goals like in the next year to 2 years? What do you hope if everything comes to fruition? What do you hope is you've achieved?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to, consistently be in the 5 to 10 per month category. I mean, right now, ideally, I'm trying to build it up to 2 to 3 per month. I'd like to get there by the spring of next year. Currently not really doing any. We've done a couple so far this year, but that's really it. So it's my challenge is a lot of marketing. I've never really done anything. It's more just relationships and reaching out to realtors. So I'd like to build that end up to about that volume range. So then I can step away from the current business that I'm in.
Okay. So maybe that answers the next question. What is it about 2 to 3 deals a month or 5 to 10 deals? How'd you pick those numbers?
Well, I think in this market area, and I would focus on Maryland and DC, primarily probably Montgomery County, PG County, Frederick. I think judging from those markets, obviously, that you're in those markets, it's very competitive. But I think our spreads are probably somewhere between 10 and 20,000 on wholesaling there. So I'm just kind of looking at monthly expenses and everything. And if I'm at 2 to 3, I'm comfortable. And then, I'm starting to make things happen when I hit 5 or more. Gotcha.
So you're bringing in, 10 to $25,000 a month. Okay. All right. And so when you said we've done a couple, what does that mean? We've done a couple this year.
So with the firm I'm with now, I go out and I find properties, that we can purchase. I invest in them also. Those have not been wholesales. Those have been flips. So, we'll buy them, fix them up. In some cases, they're going to be tear downs and we're doing new construction on those.
Okay. So you're working, this is a full-time, you're an employee, you're a full-time employee of this company?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And your goal is obviously to get, like you said a couple minutes ago, get back on your own, right?
Correct.
So tell me, what are you doing? What are you actively doing now to start trying to find wholesales or flips for yourself?
So mainly right now, it's just driving for dollars. I've got a list of probably about 400 houses between DC and Montgomery County.
Okay.
So I've got that. I want to look at purchasing some larger lists from U.S. leads lists or list source, some sort like that, and then doing the marketing. My guess is I would probably look towards postcards, something like that. I've just never done that, so it's kind of a analysis paralysis type situation. Where once I get started, I'm good, but it's kind of pushing forward to that. I've never done any marketing, so it's kind of overwhelming, for my mindset to work with.
Okay, so are you actively working the 400 addresses that you have collected for driving for dollars?
Not nearly as much as I should. I've probably sent out two letters over the last 8 months to them.
Okay. So tell me what your process looks like, if any. Like how do you identify a house? Once you identify a house, tell me what you're doing with them.
So identifying, I'm on job sites and stuff all the time. So I'm driving around. So if I see something, I'll write down the address, pull up the tax records, and then I've got a database both for DC and for Maryland. So I'm importing them into the database.
Okay. How are you identifying the houses to write down?
I'm just driving by, or if I'm in the city or something, going for dinner or walking by, I'll put it in my my iPhone and just put.
What I mean is, why not every house? What is it about the particular houses?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking for air conditionings in the window. If I'm in the city, I'm looking for a lot of trash, broken windows, deteriorating paint, lots of rot, clear signs that that's something that it's not a perfect property.
Okay. And then you look at the tax record, and what information are you getting from the tax record?
One, if it's been recently purchased, to see if it's an owner occupant, if they're absentee owner, if it's an estate and it just transferred.
Okay. So if it's been recently purchased, then you don't include it on your list?
Typically, no. Yeah.
Okay. And
I would look at that and say someone's just purchased and they're going to do something.
Okay. Are you excluding LLC names and bank names?
No. Well, bank names, yes, but not LLCs.
Okay. And so then it sounds like you don't even have a system set up for sending out the letters, right?
No, it's in there. And then basically the 2 times that I've sent it, I've got kind of a pre-form letter that I do, and just handwriting the envelopes and printing out putting in their name and their property address and then sending it out.
Okay. Have you got any calls back on this?
I've gotten a couple. Nothing that's stuck.
Okay. So Mel, do you have a monthly marketing budget? Or do you?
I do not. I've been looking at that. I think my goal is to get somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 pieces out per month.
Okay. Is that safe to say that your marketing budget is direct mail is probably 40% or 40 cents? So are you saying that your marketing budget is $800 to $1,200?
Yeah, and I could go a little bit higher than that. I could go up to about 2,000 a month.
Okay, so $2,000 a month. Okay, so driving for dollars, while nothing's wrong with it, it's very time intensive, and it's probably a great activity for someone who has close to a zero marketing budget. It's a very tedious task, and it takes a long time, and it's not. People have success that I know, but it's a really tough one. Again, it would be with someone, if you said, hey, I've only got $200 a month or $50 a month, I'd say go drive for dollars. I would do some things differently, obviously. I would go, if the house is really banged up, I would go knock on their door. I would leave them a door hanger. I would also go talk to the neighbors and incent the neighbors and say, hey, if you can help me find this owner, I'll certainly pay you a $500 referral fee or whatever it is. Be careful you're not violating any realtor laws. You got to make sure that you do that correctly. But
sure.
And then also I would have you do a monthly mailing to them, a handwritten envelope, so it looks like with probably no return address or just an address with no name, so it gets open. And then I would do that on a consistent basis. So part of any good marketing is its consistency, and it sounds like you're not consistent. So the one thing that you're not doing with consistency, and hence that's why you're getting no results. So I would say, again, if you only have $50, I'd urge you to do driving for dollars, but I would be real selective of the houses that you select. Make sure that they're not owned by a bank. Make sure that they've been owned for probably at least 15 years. And then I would do the consistent marketing with some great messaging. And I'd also get a little more aggressive on, neighbors and trying to dig up the numbers. Also, you could, take it a step further. I don't know if you've tried this. You could actually try to find the phone number for the person. So go to whitepages.com, go to Zaba search, ZABA search.com, and then call them. Hey, I was driving by your house. I'm interested in purchasing houses in your neighborhood. Do you have any interest in selling? Or, say another word. I'd like to make you an offer on your house. I'm interested in purchasing a house in your neighborhood. Are you open to that? And just see what they say. So those are ways you could really increase your driving for dollars. In your case, since you are out and driving around a lot, I wouldn't say stop it, but I would say start doing all those things. And if you can't do all the things that I've just said, you're wasting your time and your money. So just stop it. Like you've got to have consistency.
Okay.
There was a time back in 2005 when my sister lived in Charlottesville, and she was hand addressing envelopes. And all she was doing, because I had no money and no marketing budget, was she was going into the tax records and looking for absentee owners that had owned their house for more than 15 years. And I got a call from a lady one day that said, hey, I just got your 6th letter. I wasn't planning on selling my house, but since I got your 6th letter, I'll go ahead and sell. And I think got the tenants out and didn't do anything to the house. I just listed it. And I think I made like $43,000 on that house. However, had she stopped at letter 3 or 4 or 5, I wouldn't have made $43,000. So any marketing that you're doing has to be done consistently. So now that we're shifting out of direct or driving for dollars, what I would say is continue doing it. However, if you have a $2,000 a month budget, you want to do some other things. Probably direct mail and or bandit signs. What type of vehicle? Do you have a truck, or what are you driving around?
It's SUV. So
okay.
Jeep Cherokee.
Okay. Do you have any magnets or stickers or anything on the car with like We Buy Houses?
No.
Okay. So I got my first, I struggled for 8 or 9 months to find my first deal back in 2003, 2002. And I don't know if it was my 3rd deal or my 2nd. It was probably my 2nd or 3rd deal. I got a call off of either they were on my car or my wife at the time's car. And I bought 3 houses from the guy. They were all in West Virginia, ironically. One was a mobile home, and 2 were rental properties. One his brother was in, and he didn't want to kick him out. And then another one, there was a problem tenant in. Anyway, I sold all 3 of those, and I think I made a $40,000 profit or $38,000 profit.
No.
Again, just from a $69 or $60 big sign, yellow sign with black lettering that says We Buy Houses and then a phone number. So if anyone's listening and you're serious about real estate investing and you have a car and you drive around, you're really, potentially leaving a lot of money on the table not having these on your car. So if you're beginning or really any stage, you ought to have those on your car. And, if you're going to a fancy restaurant or on vacation, you can always just pull them off. I'm not telling you to wrap the car. So I would definitely do that. So bandit signs, you have to check these jurisdictions. I know Frederick County is really tough because probably 10 years ago, the city manager drove an hour and a half to our office and personally hand delivered like $2,000 worth of fines. At the time, I had a company put up literally like 75 We Buy Houses signs down a main artery. And they didn't like that too much. So I think I talked him down to half of it or something, but it was still, a lot of money at the time. And it's always a lot of money, $2,000 or $1,000 to pay for a fine. So just be really careful. But I know you can, in most of these jurisdictions, put them up on a Friday afternoon and take them down on Sunday. There's people all over the country that are getting deals from bandit signs. So if you're worried about, the legal aspect, just do your research and make sure you're putting them up and taking them down at the right time.
Sure.
So I would do that. I'd probably spend $300 a month doing that. And then I would also, don't put your website on there, just We Buy Houses and then a phone number. And then I do some direct mail. So, there's tons and tons of different direct mail lists that you can buy. You can go real small and go to you can go to the courthouse and pull probate and divorce records, tax delinquents. You can go to Melissa Data or ListSource. I'll put these links in the show notes below at bradchandler.com/8. So you can go buy lists, obviously, and there's a zillion criteria you can pick from. But I would say, A lot of people want to say focus on absentee owners. We buy just as many houses from owner occupied, so I wouldn't say focus on one or the other. But you want to make sure that the only way we can buy houses and wholesale them effectively is if the person has equity. So I would pull a list of people who either own their house for 20 years and or have equity of 50 to 100%. You can do the age of the occupant. I mean, typically we're buying from sellers who are 45 to 75 years old. So you could layer that in. And if you're wondering what areas, or pick the areas that you feel have the most opportunity, you can go to ListSource and find cash buyer activity. I don't know if that's the greatest thing in the world to do. I know a lot of people swear by it. Just pick the areas that are probably 20% below the average median house price in that area.
Okay.
So, don't go in Montgomery County. You're not going to want to be sending mail to Chevy Chase and Bethesda.
Right.
Have we done deals in Chevy? Yes, but we've done a lot more in Rockville, Germantown, Gaithersburg.
Right.
So find the pockets that are at or below the median house price. That's how you kind of, narrow down your list. And then also you have to look at it from a cost perspective. Okay, so I have $2,000 a month. I'm going to spend, $500 on bandit signs and internet. You mentioned that you have a Carrot site. Usually I would critique websites, but there's not much to critique about Carrot sites because they're so good. I'll put a link to that, how you can get their sites in the show notes below as well, bradchandler.com/8. So you're spending, let's just say between internet and, or your website and bandit signs, you're spending $500. So let's say your budget's $2,000. Like you mentioned, you got $1,500. A postcard generally costs, 40 to 45 cents. So you just want to figure out, okay, well, for that amount of money, how many can I send? And then just kind of back into it. So when you're getting your list, if you can send, let's just try to make the numbers easy. So say you have $1,000. So that basically, if I'm doing the math right, means you can send about 2,500 postcards if they're 40 cents, somewhere around there. My math isn't great. Let's just say you can say they're 50 cents a piece and you can send 2,000. Then when you're looking at your criteria, just keep adding on or keep shrinking the criteria until you get that 2,000 list. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
would you focus on one specific area, like couples? If it's Montgomery County, take just a couple zip codes and focus on that. Obviously, it's a lot of, probably more than likely a lot of volume, but.
So yeah, that's a little trickier. I just know from experience that the Rockvilles have been decent. Silver Spring has been really good to us. I would definitely probably target Silver Spring number one. Germantown, Gaithersburg, in Prince George's County, we've probably bought 200 houses in Capitol Heights. Your wholesale fees may be a little less than a house in Gaithersburg, but not necessarily.
Sure.
So if you're in another area and you're trying to figure out zip codes, and you've got a ton of zip codes that are in where the price is at or below the median, then I would probably go down. I would go down further and further towards the lower end housing prices, because we find that, again, the average housing price around the DC market is $400,000, but we're selling most of our houses for probably $250,000 to $300,000. So we're about 30% below market. So just look for areas. Again, if you're trying to narrow down and you want to shrink that pool, just keep going lower and lower. If you're looking at making this up, let's just say equity is the only thing you target, and that's the only thing. And I'm not saying to do this, but I'm just trying to make a point. If there's 10,000 people's names that are at 50% equity, then go to 80% equity, and that's going to knock the number of names down. So you can just tighten your criteria to get the number of addresses that fit your budget.
Okay.
And then the key and the most important thing is make sure that you at least have the budget to mail each person a minimum of 4 times. I'd really like to see you do, probably 6 times over 6 months or every 30 days.
Okay.
Then they're going to be calling you. So they're going to be calling you, or they're going to be going to your website. What happens now when someone fills out a form on your website or calls you? How's that lead processed?
Well, with calling, if they're calling in, depending on what's, what they're going to say, whether it's a warm lead or it's clear that it's just not going to work. If it's not going to work, I would typically just get rid of that. If it's, they're not ready right now, but it's clear that, hey, this is a multiple touch person that we need to keep going with, then I'd go through and just add it in on the Carrot website and keep track of it there.
Okay, so the Carrot website does have some database component to it.
Yeah, and it's good enough for now. I mean, like if I get to the point where there's a large volume of it, then I think I go over to another type of CRM. But for all intents and purposes, right now, I think it's sufficient. I think.
Okay, so I would highly urge you to get another CRM that actually you can set up campaigns and follow-up campaigns, because you've probably heard me say this before. You shouldn't spend $1 in marketing until you have a really great follow-up system. And I think Trevor may be talking about down the road. Trevor's the owner of On Carrot, doing some more CRM stuff. But for now, I think he'll tell you he's the best in the business at websites and generating leads. So you've got to have a really, really great follow-up system. And there's a plethora of them out there. I'm strongly leaning towards FreedomSoft right now. So okay. I'll put a link in the show notes to that below. Again, at bradchandler.com/8. But you have to have, we've lived this. You're wasting money if you do not have a really great follow-up system. And your follow-up system should be one that you can come in at any given point in time, any day, and know that, hey, these 10 people or these 1,000 people or whatever it is, we need to follow up with them. And here's exactly what we need to do, because you've already built out the whole campaign on the front end. Okay. So I know right now, probably you're limited to going in and seeing the leads. You can probably put some notes in. There's probably autoresponders. So when a lead comes in, they'll get an email saying, hey, we got your lead. Someone will be in contact. But let me ask you this. If a call came in right now, literally right this second, what would happen with that phone call?
Hopefully I'd take the phone call, depending on what I'm doing, but taking the phone call, going through questions. And then after that, if it's, not going to work, then I would just, leave it at that. If it was something if it was something where it was clear they were going to sell right away, then, I'd try to set up the appointment for that day, or at least the following day, go take a look at the property, run comps and take it from, see if I can get a contract out of it. If not, then I'd do figure out some kind of a follow-up system.
Okay. So, all right. So a call literally comes in right now. You're on the podcast, and so you're not going to take the phone call. What happens with that phone call? So it's a Vumber number. So it's a number off of Vumber. So that would go to a voicemail, and then I would get a text and also an email alert saying you've got this call, and it'll give me the phone number and then call back. And what if they hung up? What if they didn't leave a message?
It would capture the number, so then I would call back the number.
Okay. Do you have a system for doing that? Do you feel like you're calling back numbers?
The system now, I know if something came in and whether there was a voicemail or not. If I was getting 5-10 calls a day, no, then I'd have to consistently make sure I'm checking the Vumber account to make sure. But right now it's, if it's 1-2 a week, that's, at this point a lot. So. But
are you even the 1 or 2 that are not leaving a voicemail? Are you consistently calling them back for
yes.
a couple of days or a couple of weeks? Okay.
Not a couple. Well, it would yes. So it would depend. If they pick up right away, then I'm talking to them. I'm trying to get back to them within the hour if I don't pick up.
Okay, because we I think last year we closed like 7, 8, 9 deals just from calling back missed phone calls.
Got it. Okay.
So you definitely want to be doing that. Have you given any thought on the digital side of doing any pay-per-click advertising?
Have I thought about it? Yes, along with Facebook, but have I done any? No.
Okay, so that would probably be a good, because you can really target on Google AdWords and Bing and Yahoo. So I would probably, again, given your $2,000 budget, let's say that's $300 a month is the website and bandit signs. I would not spend the rest of that on direct mail. I'd probably carve out $200 or $300 a month to start testing some paid search in the areas probably that you're going to be mailing, because you're selecting the best areas. Again, you've got a great website. If you've got a Carrot site, I know you've got a great website. So if you didn't have a great website, I may not urge you to do pay-per-click, but pay-per-click is good for us. And I know a lot of investors around the country are doing really well with pay-per-click. So I would definitely do that. But the follow-up system, again, don't do any of this stuff until you get a follow-up system. And for $50 to $125 a month, you can get a crazy good follow-up system. Actually, you can get one. You could go to like Zoho for $19 or $20. The problem is you just got to build everything out.
Got it.
a system like Freedom Saw for somewhere around $100. It's got all of the bells and whistles like ready to go. So you don't have to build anything out. And if you're serious about getting on your own, Mel, I would say number one, you got to do that. You've got to make that investment of $100 a month for your follow-up system, because at the end of the day, your database is an asset to you, and it's really where all the money is. So we've got this database right now of thousands of homeowners that literally probably has $1 million of value in it, because sooner or later a lot of these people are going to sell their houses. So you just want to continue to build that database.
Okay.
So I think you've kind of answered the question, but I'm going to ask it. You want to do 2 to 3 deals a month in a year from now. What do you think is your biggest obstacle from keeping you from doing that right now?
Biggest obstacle is just the responsibilities I have with my current position. I'm in charge of a lot of people, so I'm getting, putting out fires all day. So it's carving out the time to devote. I'll do some at night. The problem with doing anything at night is my brain's fried at that point. I mean, I've been dealing with, just today. I mean, I'm not sure why I woke up. There's just so many fires. So my biggest challenge is blocking out an hour to 2 hours a day of, pure follow-ups, working on the business and getting out there and just making it happen. I'm able to devote a decent amount of time on the weekends, which is good. But I've got to spend time with my kids too.
So how many hours a week are you working as an employee for the company that you are employed by?
I'm probably a good 60 to 70 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm, my position, I pretty much oversee a good portion of it. So it's not just a 9 to 5 type thing. I mean, I'm doing stuff in the morning, doing stuff late into the night sometimes, depending on if contracts have to get out or there's issues. So.
Okay. So if you started working 40 hours a week, are you going to get fired?
Would I get fired? Yeah. Because I'm not able to, there's no way for me to complete my tasks.
Okay. So you're in a tough position. I mean,
I thought about just walking away and just say, hey, let's start. But if it was just me, then that's one thing. But yeah, I've got a family and stuff that I've got to work with too. So it wouldn't be fair to them.
So I was in a situation back in 2002. I had a newborn son, wasn't making a ton of money, and I had to get a number of deals under my belt before I walked away. But I started I bought my first deal in July of 2003, and I bought 6 in July and August of 2003. And then I quit my full-time job in October, and I didn't have a ton of money in the bank. I mean, I probably had $20,000 or $30,000 in the bank. And I came home and at the time told my wife, and she was like, whoa, what? You just quit? I was like, yeah, I'm going to make this work. And I think she was panicked, but I'm like, you know what? I've thought about this my whole life, and I'm going to make it work. So I don't know and don't want to get into your financial situation, but you might want to take a look at, how long could you comfortably live without, that paycheck? And maybe you do take a leap and do that. If you decide not to do that, though, what you've got to do is you've got to put in a number of hours in a day, whether it's 1 or 3, and literally put it in your calendar and say, okay, I've got to, in order to make this business from a dream to reality, I've got to time block every single day. And for you, it's probably 7 days a week, where it's an hour or 2 a day minimum where you're working on launching this business. Because otherwise, we'll be talking a year from now and you'll still be in the same rut, because you are in a tough spot, because you've got to work so many hours for your current company, and you've got children, and you've got family obligations. So I'm sure there's a lot of listeners right now that are saying, gosh, that's me too. So my advice is, if you've got 6 months and you want to take a huge, leap of faith and say, hey, I'm going to make this work. That's one thing. It does take a lot of risk. It could backfire, it could turn out great. But if you're not going to go that route, or you don't have the money to live for 6 months, then you have got to, it comes from the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's an amazing book. You should read it.
That's great.
But it talks about you can achieve anything in 5 years, anything pretty much in 5 years. But it all starts with, what's your 5-year goal? What's your yearly goal? What's your monthly goal? What's your weekly goal? what can you do right now? What can you do now such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? And that involves time blocking. So for you, your time blocking, let's just say you pick 2 hours, literally 7 days a week. So the first thing you would do is you would spend 2 hours setting up a follow-up system, the CRM system. Then once that was done, however many hours it took, then you would move on to your next critical thing, which is setting up your marketing. So you'd write copy for your postcards, or you'd order the bandit signs, and you'd come up with a system. And then from there, you would, just like any business progresses, hopefully you'd start getting leads in. Hopefully those leads would then turn into dollars. And then you've got some more dollars to either, quit or reinvest in marketing, hire someone to start processing the leads on a part-time basis. And then, you just systematize your business, everything that you're doing just one step at a time. And that's how you can organically grow the business.
No, I agree with that. And I'm, not in a position that I feel like walking away, but that's the reason for trying to get to those 2 or 3 a month. And at that point that I'm comfortable. Really 2. If I was consistent with 1 deal a month, 2 deal the next, 1 deal the next, then I'm comfortable. It's just having some consistency there. And that's kind of what I'm working towards at this point.
So you mentioned earlier in the conversation, wholesale fees of $10,000 to $20,000. You could be north of that. We're seeing wholesale fees in the $30,000 range and up. Our average is probably in the 30, but we have some that are much bigger than that. So if you find the right cash buyers and you market the property right and you get the property under contract correctly, that number could go, instead of 10 to 20, it could go to 20, 30, $40,000.
Sure. Which would be great. I just want, when I was doing it, I was doing my baseline to say, this is, baseline here, and then I'm comfortable. So.
Right. Cause you mentioned DC. DC, you could have wholesale fees. They could be into the 6 figures in DC, as hot as DC is.
Sure.
Where do you live in, where do you live right now, Mel?
I live in DC.
You live in DC.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So I would probably say, although DC is, very, very competitive, there's a lot of properties to be, that are old and run down. So
sure.
I would keep an eye out as you're driving around, and I would, again, check the laws on bandit signs, but I would do the bandit signs in DC. I'd get the magnets. And then your first, mailing, or your first area, you just can't not do DC since you live there. We have started doing less deals over the last probably year in DC just because of the competition, but it doesn't mean that they're not being done. They're there to be had. And what if you got one deal that you could, we've already got the buyers lined up. We've got the buyers that will pay top dollar.
Right.
And we program for investors to co-wholesale with us. So you get the property under contract, you give it to us. Maybe we make us $80,000 wholesale fee. You get to keep $60,000 of it, and we do all the work. We take it through the open house, everything. So,
right.
Definitely target DC, because you'll have no problem moving that property if you get it in DC.
Are you guys having certain luck in different pockets, or in any areas that's more so than others?
No, we do a lot of business in Maryland. We'd like to do more business in Virginia. Northern Virginia is a great area.
Sure.
Harder to find properties, but not really. Like I said, we've done probably the most in Prince George's County, Maryland, of any other county, including DC. It's not a county, obviously, but area. We've probably done more in Prince George's County. Okay. How do you feel about so you're obviously, just like many people listening to this, you're a one-man show. So you're doing everything. You're doing the marketing, the follow-up, the calls, processing the leads, processing the, analyzing the deals, looking at the repair. You obviously you have a really good grasp of valuing the repair estimates. How are your skills on valuing the property?
It's good. Again, I've been selling real estate for, over 20 years, in 20-year range. And what I did starting out was pretty much all infill. So identifying, most of what I did, which I'm still doing now, is the driving for dollars. We're identifying and just constant following up with those owners. And then over time, them selling it, evaluating what can we build there next. Not a lot of renovation. It was more new construction. So it has a little bit different of an animal, but, valuing it, I've been doing that forever. So I'm pretty strong.
Okay. And how about on the sales side? How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of talking with a seller and getting them to agree to setting up an appointment and then closing the appointment once you're there?
I would say I'm probably in a six to seven range, possibly a little higher than that. Again, and that's what I do predominantly with my current position. It's getting new custom home opportunities under contract, dealing with negotiation with a lot of different people, and I've got fairly good skills as far as from the sales end. And constantly reading books on sales and that kind of stuff. So,
what's your favorite book that you read recently on sales?
What was the name of it? The Split the Difference.
Okay. Never Split the Difference. I was no matter what you said, I was going to say you need to go read that book. It's a book by Chris Falls.
On it for the third time right now. So
awesome. It's an amazing book on negotiations. I'll put the link in the show notes below, bradchandler.com/8 for anyone. If you're in real estate investing or any sales for that matter, you've got to read this book. It's quite amazing. So Mel, can you commit to having a follow-up system set up? And if so, when can you commit to having it up and running?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at the FreedomSoft, but I think you're right. I think having something in place is the correct thing to do. So I would say in the next 60 days. Okay.
All right. Sounds great. Any other questions or anything for me? Any concerns or anything I can help address?
I don't think so. I think we've hit on a lot. It was very helpful information. I appreciate your time.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mel, for being on our show. And I'm going to check back with you in 60 days and see if you've gotten that CRM up and running and it's flowing smoothly with leads coming into it.
That'd be great.
All right, take care, Mel.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It's now time to take action. Text the word INVEST to 855-999-1616 and get a free guide teaching you how to qualify, schedule, and close more deals faster with the advanced agreement, the technique we use to do 20-plus wholesale deals per month. Also, go to bradchandler.com/podcast to apply to be a guest on this podcast. You'll receive a 30-minute coaching session with Brad, a $1,000 value for free.